Hello, my name is Roland Morales. I am currently a junior, about to be a senior here at Tamook. I am originally from the town of Wesco, Texas. It's down here in the RGV. The best way I could describe it is it's kind of in the middle of the valley. It's between Harlingen and McAllen. Those are the two more well-known cities. So, my major is agricultural science. Um, I plan on graduating next spring, and then after that, I will be pursuing a career in agricultural mechanics teaching. And what that entails is it's not so much on the side of FFA and raising animals and raising plants. It's more on the side of welding and woodworking and stuff like that. That's just something that interests me more, and I've always had a passion for that. And also, I've always wanted to do something where I could impact people, and I feel like that would be a great avenue for me to do that. So, today, my presentation is called A Different Type of Grocery Store by me. So my introduction. All over the great state of Texas, people have been to the great store of H-E-B or a butcher shop. These stores have all different type of cuts, but the different type of meat to choose from usually don't vary. The usual meats you have to choose from are beef, pork, or chicken. To consumers in the United States and all over the world, that's perfectly fine. But a percentage of people that are searching for a bigger selection of meat. Little do people know is that their answer is all around them. Their answer, unfortunately, isn't as easy as just driving down to your local store and grabbing a package. Although there is a place where wild game is sold, there are far and few between. To obtain wild game, oftentimes you have to go hunt for it. So, my presentation is about what's it called? The different variety of wild game that are offered to people that people just don't know about, and it also gives them an avenue if they just don't want to go through the typical, big three. There's other routes, and a lot of these times these other wild game offer extremely high health benefits. So some of the topics that we're going to talk about today are going to be white-tailed deer, otherwise known as venison, hog, otherwise known as pork, elk, nilgai, beef, chicken, the chicken coop, fishing, and the overall benefits of wild game. So, before I get into the content, this is something that I grew up, eating the animals that I would hunt, whether that's hog, deer, nilgai, nilgai, and that's always been something that I've been passionate about. It's something that I've always tried to have, tried to get people around me to try, because oftentimes they have this preconceived thing in their mind of, oh, I don't like that. I'm not going to like that. It's no good. But in reality, a lot of the times, the meat that we harvest is the most healthy meat that they will probably ever have in their life. And going through this slideshow, you'll see that, and you'll see the health benefits, the vitamin benefits, and just the overall and the overall benefits to it. So, with no further ado, let's get into it. So, the first um, type of wild game that I want to get into is the most common um, down here in the valley and pretty much all over the United States. Whenever you talk about hunting, 99% of people in the United States, they're going to think of white-tailed deer. So, the white-tailed deer is synonymous with American history, dating back before colonists ever touched down on the Americas. Native Americans have been hunting deer as primary sources of food for hundreds of years. Their rich flavor and lean meat make it perfect to be converted into jerky. The conversion into jerky for the meat allowed for the meat to last significantly longer than when it was just cooked normally. Fast forward to today, and white-tailed deer is still the most sought after wild animal in North America. So the purpose for putting things into jerky like that is because, of course, back then they didn't have, a refrigerator. They didn't have somewhere they could put ice and put meat. So they had to, what they wanted. So what they did is they found a way to preserve it, aka make it into jerky. And now it's, instead of only lasting 3 or 4 days or 2 or 3 days, now it's lasting a week, 2 weeks. And that's handy because a lot of these Native Americans and all the people that were here before the colonists got here, they had no other options. And when they would go out to hunt or do their daily, they didn't want to have to start a fire, go through the whole process just to eat. So, furthermore, as I said before, venison is an extremely lean and rich meat. It's actually one of the most healthy for you, beating out beef. For every 100 grams of venison, there's over 26 grams of protein. This is a very good. This is very good. This protein is a very important supplement to immune system health. Another benefit to venison is that there are 100% grass fed, which means that they're extremely low in saturated fats. This is a result in the meat being high in conjugated linoleic fat, which helps fight diseases and cancer. So on to the next topic. We're going to go to hog and pork. Despite what most people think, hog are not usually indigenous to the Americas. They were first introduced to the Americas in the 1500s. They were brought over as another form of food for early settlers. But after several hundred years and the introduction of the Russian wild boar, the population all over the country skyrocketed. This has caused the reputation of the animal to quickly diminish over time. They are often seen as trash meat or grosser compared to their close relatives, the domestic pig. Although they do not live in as good conditions as a domestic pig, their diet is in most ways usually a lot healthier. They are out in the wild where the bulk of the diet is forage and grass. This leaves them with a very clean and healthy white meat. Unlike white-tailed deer where there are specific seasons to when you can hunt them, hogs are such a nuisance that nowhere in America there is a set season. They're extremely high in non-saturated fat, zinc, and selenium. So hog is something that is very sought after, especially wild hog. Um, Unfortunately, sometimes when they do get past a certain weight, their meat gets really tough and very gamey, I guess you could say, and that results in just not a good flavor. So a lot of times, like the about 50 to 150 pound range is where a lot of hunters are going for. So the next slide I want to go to is about elk. Out of all the meats I have listed, elk alongside nilgai has to be two of the most exclusive meat on the list. Elk has been a staple in the diets of Native American settlers and now modern day people. They are very beautiful and majestic animals, but what most people don't know is that about them is that they are very tasty and extremely healthy for you. Elk are not very easy animals to hunt for. They are often high up in secluded areas. They are very smart and vigilant animals, and they oftentimes know where you are before you do. Much like venison, elk meat is extremely healthy for you, especially compared to beef or pork. Much like venison, elk is a very lean meat that offers many benefits to your overall health. Cuts of meat from elk are high in B12, iron, zinc, niacin, phosphorus, thiamine, and riboflavin. This is this can contribute greatly to your immune system and overall health. Meats like this are not hard to find as hard as you think it would be. Depending on the time of year and your budget, you can get fresh meat either from the store or even overnight to your house. So elk is kind of one of those meats that is very exclusive, like I had said that I just stated. It's something that is very hard to hunt for, and also it's not widely open to the public to hunt for. And even when it is, a lot of these animals are extremely smart. Like it's very hard for you to outsmart them. So that's why when you do, it's oftentimes a big deal because you're outsmarting the smartest thing out there. So the next one I'm going to go on to is nilgai. The nilgai has to be the most mysterious and sought after animal in all of South Texas. The nilgai actually isn't even from anywhere in the Americas. They were originally from the country of India and Pakistan. It's said that the appearance of nilgai dates back to the Vedic period at around 1500 to 500 BCE. They were first introduced into South Texas around 1920 by the King Ranch as another form of wild game to hunt. Since their population has slowly grown to an estimated 37,000, South Texas actually has the only other place in the world with a wild population of nilgai. The nilgai is not only sought after for its beautiful and majestic looking coat, but for the tasty lean red meat. Much like elk, these animals are very hard to hunt. They are significantly smarter than the regular whitetail that are walking around. If you're lucky enough to get an animal on the ground, you will now have an entire freezer full of meat that is very good for you. Nilgai is often compared to chicken breast in the fat content and calorie count. It is also high in omega-3, even more so than a piece of salmon. This is due to diet of only grass and brush. The meat of the nilgai is often not sold in most stores but by making the right friends and connections, people are happy to give away some meat. The carcasses of a nilgai often weigh over 150 pounds. So the next subject I'm going to go on to is beef. Beef has to be one of the most common cuts of meat that you can find from your neighborhood meat shop to big name stores such as Walmart. This has caused people to only think that's where you can get beef. Although there is nothing wrong with doing that, but oftentimes the big name stores is full of preservatives, steroids, and water to inflate the meat to look more desirable. What most people don't realize is that there are beef farms where you can buy percentages or whole beef carcasses. Oftentimes these farms will out take out and prep the meat for you to pick up. From here you are free to do whatever you like with the meat. You could take it home and process it and cut it yourself, or take it to a processing facility and it will do the entire process for you. You could have cuts of ribeye, New York strip, sirloin, brisket, ground beef, beef chuck, ribs, and many, many more. Some of the benefits of this aren't only for health reasons. The benefits of this aren't only for health reasons. When you break down the cost of all the meat you get, it will be significantly cheaper to do this in bulk than to slowly go to the grocery store. On the other hand, the health benefits of it is that it allows you to eat meat that's actually been fed nothing but grass and natural forages. So the next subject will be chicken. We have all made a trip down to Chick-fil-A or Cane's or any place that sells chickens. It's so addicting and tasty. Not often do we think of where the chicken that we eat is coming from, and I'm no exception. Chicken of lately is exploited in popularity and is a staple in people's diets. A good majority of people eat chicken for health reasons is due to its very low fat and high in protein. Most of the chicken that we eat in restaurants or buy at stores is all to raised from birth in huge barns with thousands of chickens are all living together in a confined space. This wasn't the case decades ago when flocks of chickens were often no more than a couple hundreds. However, due to people seeing the benefits of having chickens all in one place, this has led to chickens being more susceptible to contracting diseases. This led to chicken farmers having to lean on an array of antibiotics that would improve the health of the birds and cause significant weight gain. This has had a trickle-down effect to consumers, as the chicken we eat is full of bacteria. A report in a 2014 study indicates that over 50,000 people a year die to antibiotic resistant infections. This problem, thankfully, can be remedied by raising chickens yourself. Although I know it sounds intimidating, it is a surprisingly seamless process. Everything you need to get would be at your local Tractor Supply. The chicken, feed, light, enclosure, and food. By raising your own chickens, you put what is going into your body back into your hands. You know exactly what is fed to them and the kind of life they live before being harvested. Even if you don't have the means to raise chickens on your own, you can go to a local farmer's market, a local farmer, and most will be happy to sell you a couple chickens to eat. They also will get sometimes will sell eggs. So unfortunately, it won't let me go back to the last slide, but I can read it here. The chicken coop. The like most things, making yourself is more cost effective than just buying a pre-made version. You must first determine a safe and visible location. These are far away from trees, fences, or dogs. Once you get your location set, now you can start to get the dimensions of your coop. This is mostly determined by the amount of chickens that you plan to have. 2 or 3 feet per bird inside the coop is the average size, and usually about 5 to 6 feet. The coop are covered top to bottom, not allowed any outside entrances. This is to lessen the chance of something as a bobcat, a fox, a coyote, or raccoon getting in and killing all your flock. Other measures can be taken to protect your chicken coop are traps, poison, livestock guardian animals, and the use of firearms. The next biggest thing that we the next biggest thing when making a chicken coop is the total cost of the coop to the actual chickens to feed and water. According to the national average, the chicken coop costs anywhere from 300 to 2,000. The cost of the chicken coop varies on the condition and if you want more features. So the next subject I'm going to be going on to is fishing. Sometimes when wild game, beef, or chicken isn't available, you have to turn to the water as a source of protein. The first instances of fishing date back to about 40,000 years ago, but the first recorded instances were about 30,000 BC, with the Neanderthals in the river in Germany. As time went on, fishing has been evolved far beyond necessity and nowadays leisure. Innovations with fishing rods, reels, line, tackle, and fishing detectors, boats, and many, many other inventions. Fishing has to be the most accessible form of hunting and gathering we have today. Over 70% of the earth is water, and almost all that water has fish in it. This being said, innovations in boats now allow people to fish farther, harder, and longer. Pe- Places that people would never have known otherwise are now easily accessible to anyone with the proper equipment. This being said, fishing from land or wading can still offer opportunities for people to catch the big one. At least down here in South Texas, the most common sought after fish would be the red drum, speckled trout, black drum, sheephead, and sharks. All these fish were caught in the wild will be the tastiest fish you can have, especially compared to the frozen tilapia that you can get at the store. This fish, these fish have eaten nothing but other fish their entire lives, which means their meat is flavorful and free of unnatural preservatives. So now I'm going to get to the overall benefits of wild game. These are advantages to eating wild game. One of the few that are not mentioned as much would be the connection that you feel to everything that you were consuming. You went and found the animal that took it down, dispatched it properly, and processed the meat, and you put it in your freezer. This gives you a complete control over what goes into your meat and what doesn't. This is very important because every time you go to this store or supermarket, you pick a package of ground beef, chicken, pork, and you have no idea where it came from. You don't know if the animal was pumped full of antibiotics and steroids, and it gets processing way faster. You don't know if the animal lived a stressful life, and now the meat has hardened and the fat percentages have diminished. When you take action with your food, you have a new appreciation for what you're eating. Is also even healthy for you as you are staying away from processed food. The benefit of eating wild game is that they are low in saturated fats, lean, while still very high in protein, vitamin B, and minerals. So my conclusion. Nowadays, we all have become dependent on someone else being able to provide the meat we need every day to survive. The innovations in technology and infrastructure have allowed for a mass surge in the amount of animals that can be raised at once. This in turn has led to the quality of what we're consuming go down to be able to make it more cost effective. This is where wild game comes into the picture. Wild game is the last thing we have left of nature, non-altered. These animals grow up free, eating only what they can find in the most of the time is grass brushes. Although they are not traditional for most people, they all offer an alternative to the big three. Wild game is something that is ingrained in our DNA as people and reaches back to the beginning of the human species. We must not run away from it, embrace it. This this is the more we seek out, the more we benefit not only mentally but health wise. This is why every single animal that is listed is an alternative and will do nothing but nourish your body. Thank you.